Alright, what's happening, y'all, man? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores coming with my predictive final mock draft, my most realistic scenario. So this whole thing is going to be based on what I think is most likely to happen, way more so than what I actually want them to do. Even though there is a mix of, if there are several guys that are there, I'm going to take the guy I prefer. So we do end up with quite a few players that I like. But this is also me challenging myself to see what we can do and me to guess what we actually will end up doing. And it's strongly going to be based on the prospects list, the targeted players that I've already done 3 videos on that y'all can access through the link in the description of those videos. So this again is going to be the most realistic one. I also want to preface this with the fact that I'm not going to dive too much into like players' weaknesses and strengths. I'm going to give like an overall background on them. But the main thing is going to be the logic again, because I'm challenging myself to see how many I can get right. If you want a better idea of which players I like the most and which players I really enjoy watching and all of that type of stuff, and the guys that I really want us to get, especially some high ceiling guys, go check out my previous mock drafts. Again, this one is not necessarily based on my opinions. This is based on what I think will happen. Also, I want to preface this by saying that I think this mock draft is going to get destroyed soon because I don't see us keeping the same picks that we currently have. We have a first rounder, second rounder, fourth rounder, sixth rounder, and 2 7ths, no thirds, no fifths. And first of all, even before Martin Mayhew said it, I just knew, just based off of how many players we need, and you can argue we have different needs at several positions, I just didn't see us keeping these same exact picks already. And then this draft, quantity wise, is the deepest draft in NFL history. We can debate quality, but quantity wise, it's the deepest draft pool in NFL history as far as players go. Because of the pandemic, a lot of guys stayed an extra year that normally would have went in last year's draft. So there's just more players available to not have 3rd and 5th round picks when players that would potentially go in the 2nd round of other drafts are going to slide into the 3rd round of this draft because there's just so many guys. We're gonna figure out something, and I think we'll be movers every direction. I think first round wise we're far more likely to trade back, but second round wise we may trade back up to an earlier 2nd round pick or late first to get a guy, or with our 4th round pick we try to figure something out to end up with a 3rd round pick that way. I definitely see us being big movers throughout this draft. So any mock draft that anybody's come out with, unless you've attempted to do trades, which I'm not doing on this, is pretty much just already accepting defeat that I'm not going to be accurate. But yeah, I just want to give y'all the most realistic players, and it may not be the exact picks, but I hope I get as many players right as possible. So before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Go become a channel member if you haven't, because I'm going to do film sessions on every player that we pick up, undrafted free agents, even if all I can get a hold of is a highlight tape from those guys. My channel members will get all of them. The general public may get a couple of them, maybe like the top guys, like our 1st round pick, maybe our 2nd, and so forth and so we'll see. But like, channel members gonna get the raw and edited ones for literally every player we bring in. Even some free agents, like say we sign Tyrann Mathieu immediately after the draft, I'll do like a Tyrann Mathieu film session. So holding out hope, trying to speak that into existence, but also just trying to relate a message that if you're not a channel member, go become one, because I'm doing film sessions on everybody. I'm sorry, I've been super busy. I literally just got home an hour ago. It is 5 p.m. and I still gotta eat. I gotta find a way to get this video finished and edited before I start streaming at 7 p.m. So I've just been super busy. I haven't been able to do my film sessions leading up to the draft like I really wanted to do. Like I wanted to do Nick Cross. I wanted to do a lot of my Georgia players, but I just literally haven't had the time. But I will be getting to these Washington Commanders players that we bring in, because we have so much time. Even if it goes all the way through mini camps, y'all will get tape on all of these guys at some point. But without further ado, let's get it. All right, so round 1, I think safety Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame is very realistic as an option for us at 11. I think they prefer Drake London as an organization, but I think Drake London will get taken before we pick. I'm not super sure about that. And I think there is a strong chance that Drake London and Kyle Hamilton will be there. But for me, if it's like 50-50 on who I think will go here, I want to decide with the guy that I prefer between the two, and that's Kyle Hamilton. And I also just think it's quite realistic. I mean, you look around all the mock drafts, a lot of people think we're going to end up with Kyle Hamilton. His ceiling at the very least is probably like the Vikings right behind us. I just think if you want to go best player available at that position, regardless of positional value, of course, quarterbacks and left tackles and receivers are technically more important than safeties draft value wise, but like, I'm taking Kyle Hamilton right there. Just an overall synopsis. I mean, I think he can pretty much play everywhere in the secondary and even some linebacker. Now, I don't think he would make his money as a single high free safety, but I also think that you could do that every now and then with him. But you prefer him in cover 2 and cover 3. You can have him down covering the opposing team's best tight end. Like when we're going against Travis Kelce, we're going against George Kittle. Kyle Hamilton's your guy to cover that guy. Cameron Curl can cover tight ends as well, but I love his ability to cover running backs. I feel like Kyle Hamilton with his build, how long his arms are, how tall he is, and I'm not worried about that 40 time at all. He's so instinctual, I don't care. And then he has good ball skills as well. I think he's better suited to cover tight ends. I think you get Cameron Curl to try to cover the running backs, but I can see both of them covering either one, but that's just what I prefer. Again, Kyle Hamilton because they like Bobby McCain a lot, even though they're not paying him a lot of money. The 3 safety group with Bobby McCain, Kyle Hamilton, and Cameron Curl in the field at the same time could be very deadly, because when in doubt, Bobby McCain, you could argue, is better in the slot than at free safety. You can have Kyle Hamilton at free safety with Cameron Curl. They're the 2 on the back end. You know, there's all kinds of ways you can mix it up. And then, of course, like the whole Buffalo nickel thing, Kyle Hamilton is basically just better Landon Collins. He's longer. He can cover better. His instincts, you could definitely argue, are better as well. So it's just like you can't miss with Kyle Hamilton. I feel like he's one of the safest picks in the draft, just player wise, period. I feel like Aiden Hutchinson is up there as far as safe. I feel like Kyle Hamilton's up there. Ahmad Sauce Gardner. I'm not necessarily saying the best, but when we're saying the safest, Kyle Hamilton's definitely one of those guys. And of course, we brought him in for meetings and all of that type of stuff. We're clearly interested in him. Second round, I have us getting Treylon Burks, and I can definitely see us, like, if he starts sliding and he's there somewhere in the early second, like late 30s, early 40s, I could definitely see us trading up to go get this guy. Y'all know I really like George Pickens, but the Washington Commanders haven't shown any interest in him. Now, I mean, who knows if that matters, because Benjamin St. Juste even said it himself that he had no idea that the Washington Commanders were even interested in him. We didn't bring him in for meetings, no visits, didn't talk to him. I mean, granted, it was the pandemic, so you couldn't, but like, we didn't talk to him virtually, nothing. At the combine, nothing, literally no communication. He was super surprised when we took him. So who knows, like, even though we haven't met with George Pickens, if he's there at 47, will we take him? Even though I don't think he will. I think, honestly, George Pickens may end up going before Treylon Burks in the draft, to be completely honest. Not to say he's necessarily going to be a better receiver, but I just think he's a safer prospect. And then if that happens and Treylon Burks sitting there within somewhat range of our 47th overall pick in the second round, I think we do what we got to do to go get him. And I think a lot of teams are going to be afraid of him just mentally, because he's far more athletic than he tested. And so you look at that and say, is that just because, like, you didn't prepare? Like, this is like technically your most important job interview in your life as a football player. So if you don't come in prepared for that, working your tail off and exercise and already rehearsing the drill so you can do your best performance for those times, the 40 time, 3-cone shuttle, all of that type of stuff. If you don't come prepared for that, what will you come prepared for? And I think a lot of teams may have taken them off their big boys like Kayvon Thibodeau, where it's like, are these guys lazy? Do they care enough? You know? So I think Treylon Burks will end up sliding further than people think, but also just the immense talent. And I mean, just the example of what Deebo Samuel can do to an offense. That's the reason I think he may end up still going in the first. But I think some teams have already taken him off their big board completely. Like, even if he's there in the second round for him, they're like, we're not even looking at him because we're concerned about how much he actually cares about the sport. But for us, I mean, Just like some people feel like Christian Watson or Drake London would be a great counterpart to Terry because they're a different build, they're a different mode, they're a different play style. Treylon Burks, remember, is 6'3", and of course he comes with what we hope Curtis Samuel can do. But if you draft Treylon Burks, Curtis Samuel can just purely become the slot receiver, and he can still be somewhat of a gadget guy. I mean, Scott Turner will get creative. You can have two gadget guys, and then of course Curtis Samuel would like to be used more deep down the field if you bring a Treylon Burks in as well. So I just think that would overall work out. He's a big body receiver. You can do everything with him. And so, yeah, I think that is a realistic scenario, to be completely honest. And then again, we don't have a 3rd round pick, but we do have a 4th. And I think Carson Strong realistically makes it that far. I think a lot of teams are worried about his injury history. From what I've heard recently, like a couple of weeks ago, the whole breakdown, and I've already talked about it in video, so I don't want to go too much into detail about that. But I'm far less concerned about his injury history moving forward since like a couple of weeks ago, and I'm willing to take him. And I mean, to be completely honest, if you want to compliment somebody, I think honestly Carson Wentz. I think his mobility issues are blown out of proportion. I think, especially since he pretty much played last year on one leg, if he has two, I think he'll be very comparable to Carson Wentz as far as arm strength and mobility. I think he's raw, but I think there's something to definitely work there with him right there. And the Washington Commanders have said that they plan on taking quarterback sometime. I doubt it's within the first 3 rounds. And if Carson Strong's there in the 4th, they may just go ahead and pull the trigger. And then we don't have a 5th round pick. So in the 6th round, why not go get Carson Strong's tight end? We have a needed tight end because who knows if Logan Thomas is even going to be ready for week 1. We lost Ricky Seals-Jones to the Giants. Sammis Reyes, who knows if he's even going to be ready enough as far as like raw. Like, will he be playable yet? And so it's just like, as of right now, John Bass is our only tight end I can even imagine touching the field right now in week 1. So we have a lot to do as far as trying to add some players to the tight end group. We may sign some free agents after the draft. Even if you draft a Cole Turner, you may still bring in a free agent or 2 after the draft. Definitely some undrafted free agents, but also some veterans as well. But it just makes too much sense in the world. You let Cole Turner and Carson Strong mature together, and if Carson Wentz isn't the answer, then you have Carson Strong as your project guy that hope maybe he's ready by next year, and then you already have his most dependable target, his tight end Cole Turner, and that chemistry would just be unmatched. Remember the comparison to Carson Wentz's favorite target was always Zach Ertz and just big receivers, Alshon Jeffrey, and just tight ends in general. And so that's the same thing with Carson Strong. You get him his big receiver, his big target, his tight end, and watch him do magic. So I think that's very realistic right there. If you draft Carson Strong, they're going to do what they can to draft Cole Turner. I'm almost sure of it. And again, all of these guys they've met with. They brought in Carson Strong for a private meeting. Technically a private workout. Same thing with Cole Turner. They brought him in at the same time. And Kyle Hamilton, they brought him in for a top 30 visit. Same thing with Treylon Burks. So there's clear interest there for all of these players. And everybody I take in this mock draft, they've either talked to him at the combine, pro day, private workout, top 30 visit, one of those 4 things, or maybe even multiple of them, just by one player. So there's interest in all of these guys. I'm not just pulling these guys out of nowhere, which takes me to our first 7th round pick, and now of us taking running back Abram Smith. And he's just basically an early down running back. There's already been rumblings that we wanted to address running back in the draft. I don't think it's going to be soon enough to take like a Breece Hall or a Kenneth Walker, even though those guys all ballers. But again, positional value. I mean, there may not even be a running back taken in the first. But I mean, regardless, I don't think we're going to attack running back that soon because they really like Antonio Gibson. Ron Rivera just spoke about that a few days ago. They brought back J.D. McKissick, so you don't necessarily need a 3rd down back. And J.D. McKissick's on contract for at least the next 2 years. So you can address 3rd down back, first of all, in draft or free agent wise, but also just in a later draft, like next year's draft, the draft after that or whatever. For now, they want a early down running back, a bulldozer, a guy that can pick up that 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, because I saw a report a few days ago that when they released Peyton Barber and put him on waivers, they honestly thought he wouldn't get claimed when they did it. They was just trying to create roster space. They thought they'd be able to bring him back onto the practice squad or something like that, I guess, and he didn't. And so now they're like, man, what do? We need an early down running back still. And so they're probably going to take one in this draft. It may not be Abram Smith, but they're going to bring in somebody. Even if it's an undrafted free agent, I guarantee you there's going to be some early down running back brought in this draft. May not be Abram Smith. I'm trying to hit as close as I can because he's in the range of going in the 7th round. And we also talked to him privately, brought him in for a visit, so we'll see. And then lastly, I have Otito Ogbonnia, defensive tackle from UCLA. Just like Abram Smith is an early down running back, this guy is an early down defensive tackle. We lost Tim Settle to the Bills. We lost Matt Ioannidis to the Carolina Panthers. It's just really just a triangle of talent going between the three teams. And I mean, we're struggling on depth right now. We have a lot of edge rusher depth, a lot of it. I mean, we have like 6-7 guys I'm pretty happy with. And you can argue that James Smith-Williams maybe can play a little inside. That's how the Washington Commanders feel about him. Like the coaching staff, they feel like he can play both inside and outside on the defensive line pretty much everywhere. But who knows of how well he can do either of those things. And then, of course, we still have like Daniel Wise and guys like that. But with the talks about Daron Payne, we're probably not even going to pay him long term. He's probably just going to end up leaving, just flat out leaving. We may get a compensatory pick for him or whatever. We'll see how that goes. I could definitely see us going a guy like this that comes with early down potential, kind of like Daron Payne. Daron Payne has flashes of pass rush ability sometimes, disrupting the pocket and making a quarterback leave his comfort zone. But I mean, he's not like a super pass rusher. He's really just a really impactful early down guy right now for the most part. And so you get a guy who's clearly doesn't have the ceiling or the floor, but he would be a nice rotational piece to bring in early downs. So I can definitely see this as a realistic option for us trying to just build some depth. I mean, of course, you're not going to replace Daron Payne in the 7th round. But, I mean, losing Tim Settle, Matt Ioannidis, and potentially losing Daron Payne, you got to start bringing in somebody. So I could definitely see this being the start of it. And again, just like all of the other players, they met with this guy. So there's definitely some interest there. He may even not get drafted and become an undrafted free agent that we bring in. So we'll see how that goes, of course. And then, of course, like, I mean, they may want to bring in a corner. So undrafted free agent wise, they may bring in Fayon Hicks from Wisconsin. They may want to bring in some edge rusher depth. So they may bring in Luigi Villain, edge from Wake Forest. I can see that. I mean, there's all kinds of things. They may bring in multiple tight ends. For some reason, Jalen Watermeyer goes undrafted. Maybe they bring him in as an undrafted free agent. There's just so many options there as far as just depth. And who knows, we probably will bring in some offensive linemen as undrafted free agents. Don't exactly know which ones because we haven't really met with any ones that I don't think will get drafted. But we're definitely going to bring in some. We're going to bring in some tight ends, some running backs, some receivers, and some offensive line, and definitely probably a corner as undrafted free agents. Last year was weird because we only brought in one undrafted free agent, and that was Jared Patterson. But this year, I think we're definitely going to bring in a nice slew of guys. We normally, teams just in general, outside of the pandemic, normally bring in like 5 to 12 guys. So I think we're going to bring in 5+ guys, but we'll see. Maybe that's just a new trend to bring in only one because you only feel like one's worthy. So we'll see, man. But yeah, that's the end of my mock draft. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything in this mock draft. Please like this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. Again, I'm kind of late putting this out, so I'm clearly not doing it for views. I just want to go ahead and put this out there and like put my name next to these players. So if we end up getting them, now I look like a genius that guessed it ahead of time. Even though, again, I didn't do any trades in my mock draft, so that's pretty much just already admitting defeat because we're going to move around in this draft. So my mock draft is already going to blow up on me, probably even just within the first round, just day one tonight. So we'll see. But yeah, man, like I already said, I'm going to be live streaming all of the draft for the most part. I'm gonna live stream all tonight. I'll start an hour before the draft starts at 8. I'll start live streaming at 7 so we can do some mock drafts together with like a mock draft simulator and just talk everything, get everybody hype and comfortable before the draft starts and all of that, do our predictions, all of that type of stuff. So I'll be live streaming tonight round 1, tomorrow rounds 2 and 3, and at the very least on Saturday I'll live stream round 4. So stay tuned for all of that, man. I'm really excited. This is like my favorite part of the off season, so man, I just can't wait. The draft, man, I love it. Not even just for players that we're getting. First of all, I'm really interested in seeing where my Georgia Bulldogs go. Hope they all go to great situations. Like for me, Malik Willis is still my favorite player in this draft. So I hope he goes somewhere that'll do right by him, like the Steelers or something. I don't want him going to the Seahawks because he's gonna be in no man's land. Kind of the same thing with the Detroit Lions, even though they are building the offensive line and they have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Please not Carolina. Please, they have a good defense, but So I really hope he ends up going to the Steelers. The Saints are okay. They'd probably be my second choice. And then guys like Jordan Davis, I hope he goes to the Ravens. Hope Nakobe Dean goes to a great defense that already has a great defensive line in front of him that'll keep him clean. Lewis Seen, all of my guys. So I love seeing where everybody's going to go. Is Travon Walker going to go first overall? And even outside of my Georgia Bulldogs, I can't wait to see where Jameson Williams goes, because if he doesn't go to us, I really hope he doesn't go somewhere else in the NFC East, because I'm going to be sick to have to go against him twice a year, because I feel like you can say Jamar Chase. If we're talking about the last two drafts, if you put all of the receivers together, to me, Jamar Chase is wide receiver 1A, Jameson Williams is 1B. Period. I think it's that serious. I think he's that good. I like Jameson Williams even more than I like Devonta Smith coming out, and I love Devonta Smith coming out, but man, I really hope we don't have to play against Jameson Williams twice a year, man. At this point, I hope he goes to the AFC, please. I'm so afraid of going against Jameson Williams and just everybody, man. Where's Drake London gonna go? Where's Aiden Hutchinson gonna go? I can't wait to see where Sauce Gardner goes so I can root for his success. Hopefully it's not a rival team like the Giants, but I'm just so interested in so many of these guys after watching so much film. Even guys that I don't necessarily love, like Desmond Ridder, I'm excited to see what team ends up getting him. So man, make sure y'all pull up to the draft stream, because I'm gonna be analyzing every pick for every team, because I've done so much film session and so much research and all of that type of stuff, so much film study. So I'm a pretty much be good with knowing pretty much every player taken for the majority of the draft. I would say when we get to about round 5 or 6, may get a little hazy on a couple of the players, but I'm going to recognize and know the weaknesses and strengths of players drafted all the way into the 7th round. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be some undrafted free agents that I'm like, how did nobody take him? So make sure y'all pull up for the streams, because it won't just be a Washington Commander stream. It's going to be a Georgia Bulldog stream. It's going to be an everybody stream. And y'all know Shay's pulling up, so he's going to have his Patriots to watch out for. They're going to I'm just going to assume they're going to try to replace Shaq Mason in the draft. We'll see. But yeah, man, I appreciate all of the support, man. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now, man. I really appreciate y'all. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.